You'd think by now I'd be used to being the afterthought. But there's something about graduation day that makes you hope, just a little. The walk across the stage. The names called. The cheers from proud families. The group photos afterward. I'd watched it in movies. Imagined it during all those long nights working and studying. So yeah, I saved 6 seats. Front left row. Taped little name tags to each chair: Mom, Dad, Chase, Grandma, Uncle Drew, and Kelly. I triple-checked them before walking into the auditorium. And still, they stayed empty. The ceremony began with bright lights, nervous speeches, and applause that echoed off concrete walls. I sat in my row, adjusting the sleeves of my gown, trying not to look left. But I did. Over and over. Each time, I saw that empty row like it was daring me to blink first. When they called my name, Logan Markham, Bachelor of Applied Technology, I stood up, stepped forward, smiled for the crowd I didn't have, and accepted the degree I'd earned completely alone. There was no whooping. No clapping from the family section. Just polite applause from strangers and a camera flash I'd have to pay $29.99 to download later. It wasn't a shock, not really. I'd had a feeling something was off the moment I saw Chase's Instagram post that morning. Surprise family trip with the best crew, Blue Heart Airplane, #family first. Photo, sunglasses, margaritas, ocean behind him. No mention of where they were going. No tag for me. Obviously. But the caption said enough. They left. With Chase. On my graduation day. Let me give you context. Chase and I are 2 years apart. He's older, but you'd think he was the baby by the way everyone coddled him. He's charming, reckless, and allergic to consequences. Failed 3 college classes his freshman year, then dropped out because he wasn't vibing with academia. My parents threw him a gap year party that somehow cost more than my tuition. Meanwhile, I've been working since 16. Stocked shelves, fixed busted sinks, learned how to rewire a breaker box before I could legally vote. I took the long road to this degree, and I earned every inch of it. No one threw me a party. No cake. No balloon. Just silence. I remember one Christmas, I gave my parents a framed photo of the first HVAC project I led, 3 months ahead of deadline. I was proud. It was a big moment for me. Mom opened it and said, "Oh, it's industrial." Meanwhile, Chase gave them a t-shirt from some overpriced streetwear brand and got, "Wow, you always pick the coolest stuff." That was the dynamic. Always. Me effort. Chase vibes. 3 months before graduation, I texted the family group chat. "Hey! June 3rd at 10 a.m. Got my graduation date. Would love to see you all there." Mom replied with a thumbs up. Chase dropped a TikTok of someone tripping over their gown. Dad didn't respond. I sent a follow-up. Should I save seats? Nothing. Radio silence. 2 days before the ceremony, I saw the first clue. Mom posted a photo of 2 suitcases with the caption, "Spontaneous Adventure Week begins." No location. No explanation. But Chase posted his boarding pass later that day. LAX Cabo. So yeah? While everyone else got flowers, hugs, and family screaming their name like they'd won an Oscar, I walked across that stage to a sea of strangers and an empty row with my family's name taped to it. No one showed. No call. No excuse. Just nothing. After the ceremony, I stood outside watching classmates take group photos. One guy was crying into his mom's shoulder. Another was tossing his cap in the air with 2 sisters and a grandma doing the same. I just stood there, holding a rolled-up piece of paper that supposedly proved I made it. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't even feel surprised. I just felt done. I didn't leave the ceremony right away. There was no rush. No dinner plans. No family waiting outside with balloons or flowers. Just me, standing under a cloudy sky, gown clinging to my back, staring at the cracked sidewalk like it owed me an apology. That's when my phone buzzed. One buzz. Then another. then several in a row. I pulled it out, thumb hovering over the notifications. One text caught my eye. From Dad. Come home. Immediately. Below that? 37 missed calls. I stared at it for a full minute, heart stuck somewhere between annoyed and suspicious. What kind of emergency made me worth 37 missed calls, but not a seat at graduation? Whatever it was, I wasn't flattered. I was irritated. I didn't call back. Didn't even reply. But 30 minutes later, I was behind the wheel, heading home anyway. Because that's the kind of son I'd always been, the one who showed up, even when they didn't. The drive to my parents' house felt longer than it used to. Familiar roads blurred by, past gas stations where I'd bought Red Bulls before morning shifts, bus stops I'd waited at when my car broke down sophomore year. By the time I pulled into their neighborhood, my fingers were tight around the steering wheel. I parked across the street, engine ticking. Their house looked the same. Beige siding. 2-story. Wind chimes on the porch. Nothing about it said, "We forgot your graduation." The porch light was off. That felt new. I rang the bell. Twice. No answer. I still had my key. Same one from high school. I let myself in. Inside, it was clean. Too clean. Like they hadn't lived in it the past 48 hours. No shoes by the door, no dishes in the sink. Silence hung heavy, the kind that tells you something's wrong before anyone says a word. Then I heard it, footsteps upstairs. "Logan?" Dad's voice. He came down the stairs fast, like he didn't expect me to actually show. "You got my text?" he said. "Yeah," I replied. "Is someone dying?" He shook his head. "No. But we've got a serious problem." He led me into the dining room. Still the same pinewood table, still the same crooked painting of a lighthouse no one ever fixed. On the table was a thick manila envelope. Dad sat down and motioned for me to join him. "It's about Chase." Of course it was. It always was. I didn't sit. "What happened?" He hesitated. "He's gone. Left the resort. We got a message from someone at the front desk. He didn't check out. Took off suddenly." I blinked. "Okay. And?" Dad exhaled slowly. "He booked the trip under your name." That stopped me cold. "What?" "The hotel. The flights. It was all under your name. Or your credit." He used it. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Dad rubbed his temples. "We didn't know until the concierge mentioned the booking file. We checked. The name, the account, everything was yours." I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. "How?" He shrugged like it was nothing. "You let him borrow your laptop once, remember? He had your old password from the FAFSA stuff." "That was 2 years ago," I said quietly. "I know. But he needed the trip." I stared at him. Needed the trip. I picked up the envelope. Inside, printed receipts, booking confirmations, even a room service bill that totaled more than I made in 2 weeks. It wasn't just a credit card swipe. It was a full identity grab. Dad watched me. "We thought you should know," he said. "Before the bank calls." So that was it. They didn't call because they were worried about me. They called because they were scared of what Chase did, using my name to screw up his own mess. And now it was coming back on me. I stood there, holding the envelope, heart sinking. This wasn't just a family mistake. This was a theft. And suddenly, missing my graduation didn't even sting the same. It felt like foreshadowing. I didn't go home after that. Not to my apartment. Not to my car. I sat in a gas station parking lot, engine off, envelope still on the passenger seat, and just stared at it. I was trying to decide what hurt more, the silence at my graduation or the fact that Chase, once again, had dragged me into chaos and my parents were treating it like a minor hiccup. Like I'd lost a sock in the dryer, not my identity. After 15 minutes, I opened the envelope again and took a closer look. 4 nights at a beachside resort. Flights. Excursions. Room service. A mini bar charge of $228.43, which I didn't even know was possible unless you were chugging bottled gold. All of it? Booked under my name. I called the bank. After waiting on hold through 3 loops of smooth jazz and a suspiciously chipper voice saying, "Your call is important to us," someone finally picked up. "Hi, this is Elaine with Redwood Credit Union. How can I assist?" I tried to keep my tone calm. "Hi. I think my identity's been used without my permission. Charges on my card I didn't make. A hotel in Cabo, booked under my name." Pause. "Okay, give me a moment to pull up your account." Clicking. Tapping. Then silence. "Mr. Markham, did you authorize an $8,920 travel package through Sunscape Luxury Resorts?" My stomach turned. "No." Another pause. "And the cash advances?" I blinked. "What cash advances?" Turns out Chase hadn't just used my name to book a vacation. He'd used my social to open a second card. Same bank. Same name. Address he had access to. He even answered the security questions right. Mother's maiden name. Street I grew up on. Favorite teacher. It was all stuff I'd told him once, probably while half asleep in high school. So now, I wasn't just on the hook for the trip. I had 2 cards, both maxed. Total damage, $17,482.69. Elaine asked if I wanted to file a fraud claim. I hesitated. Because here's the twisted part, technically, Chase was family. We lived at the same address for years. He had my information. The bank might not count it as fraud, just misuse between authorized household members. Which meant I was screwed. I drove back to my apartment, the envelope now crumpled from how tight I'd been gripping it. I sat down at my tiny desk, opened my laptop, and pulled up my email. I didn't write to Chase. I wrote to my mom. Subject: graduation and identity theft. "Hi. I know you're probably still in Cabo, so I won't take up your vacation. Just wanted to let you know your son opened a credit card in my name, maxed it out, and skipped town. Also, none of you came to my graduation. Don't worry, I didn't expect much. Logan." I hit send. No emotion. Just facts. Then I logged into my credit monitoring account. Chase had done more than open a card. He'd also submitted a car loan pre-approval, listed me as a co-signer. It was declined. Thank God. But my credit score? It had already dropped 91 points in 2 weeks. I went to work the next day, eyes red from zero sleep. My boss, Daryl, a guy with a thick beard and a habit of saying, "Champ," too often, gave me a look. "Rough night?" I nodded. "Family stuff." He patted my shoulder. "Been there. Shake it off. Shake it off. Like it was just spilled coffee." I spent the next few hours repairing a walk-in freezer for a bakery that paid us in sugar cookies and handwritten checks. Every minute I was in that freezer, I thought about Chase, drinking tequila on a jet ski, probably using my name to buy sunglasses. I was done shaking it off. I was done being silent. I didn't go over to my parents' house right away. I needed a buffer. Something that made me feel less like their emotional punching bag and more like a person with a spine. So I printed everything. All the charges. Both credit cards. Screenshots of my plummeting credit score. A copy of the declined car loan with co-signed by Logan Markham, in bold. Then I stapled it into a packet, labeled it evidence, and slid it into a folder. If they were going to treat me like a problem, fine. I'd come as one. It was a Sunday afternoon when I finally pulled into their driveway. The weather was warm, and the house looked picture-perfect again. Roses blooming. Porch swept. Wind chimes moving like everything was fine. Inside, Mom was unloading groceries. Dad sat at the kitchen table, coffee in hand. They both looked up when I walked in. "Logan," Mom said, her tone too casual. "You hungry?" That did it. "Hungry?" I asked. "Is this how we're starting?" "Not sorry we missed the most important day of your life?" Not sorry your brother committed actual identity theft? Dad cleared his throat. We didn't know about the credit cards until the concierge called. And Chase? He's not answering, Mom said. But I'm sure he'll explain. I dropped the folder on the table. Pages spilled out. Explain this. They flipped through it slowly. Mom's hand trembled slightly. This is a lot, she whispered. No kidding. Dad leaned back in his chair. You sure this isn't some mistake? Maybe you. Don't. I snapped. Don't finish that sentence unless you want to hear me scream in the produce aisle next time you're buying lettuce. Silence. Then Mom said something that genuinely stunned me. Well, you're smart. You'll figure it out. That right there. That phrase had haunted me my whole life. I heard it when they didn't come to my science fair. I heard it when Chase crashed my first car and they told me to take the bus. I heard it every time they bailed him out and left me holding the mess. You'll figure it out, I repeated, eyes locked on her. Right. Because I always do. Dad rubbed his forehead. Look, you're independent. Chase needs help. He needs jail, I said, voice cold. Don't say that, Mom said quickly. He's your brother. No. He's your project. I'm just the spare parts. It got quiet. Dad finally broke the silence. What do you want from us, Logan? It was such a stupid question I almost laughed. I wanted you to show up, I said. To my life. Just once. Instead, you flew to Cabo on my credit score and now you're asking me what I want? Mom looked like she might cry. I didn't care. I pointed at the folder. You fix this, I said. You call the banks. You call the credit bureau. You fix the name Chase dragged through the mud. And if we can't? Then you pay it. Every cent. With interest. Dad scoffed. We don't have that kind of money. You had enough for Cabo. That was a gift. Mom mumbled. From your uncle. Even better, I said. So now you can ask him for another one. Or tell him his generous vacation turned into identity fraud. Mom paled. You wouldn't. Oh, I would, I said, smiling. And I'll bring the folder with me. They didn't apologize. They didn't beg. They just sat there, watching the evidence bleed across their kitchen table. And I realized something. I was never their favorite. Not even their equal. I was the backup generator. Silent. Useful. Only appreciated when everything else failed. That night, I opened a spreadsheet. I labeled it Operation Rebuild. New cards. New address. Legal consultation. Paper trail. I was done being the backup. I was becoming the system. I don't know if you've ever had to rebuild your life from inside a spreadsheet, but let me tell you, it's humbling. One tab for damaged accounts. One for legal contacts. One for every charge Chase made, color-coded by whether it was under my name or joint fraud adjacent. And one tab that was just labeled receipts. Literal screenshots. Paper trails. Emails. DMs. I wasn't just getting organized. I was getting ready. First order of business: close every account he had access to. I changed logins, passwords, added two-factor authentication with an authenticator app, not just SMS. I called every financial institution I could think of. Then I filed a police report. I didn't press charges. Not yet. But I wanted a paper trail. Something official. The officer at the desk was a guy named Harris. Late 40s, tired eyes, clearly overworked. You sure it was your brother? I handed him a printout. He skimmed it. His eyebrows lifted halfway through. You've got enough here to build a case. I nodded. I might. He handed me a copy of the report. Well, if you do, this is where it starts. A week passed. Then 2. No word from Chase. No apology. Just a photo on his Instagram, him holding a drink at what looked like another beach bar. Caption: Detoxing from drama 100 points palm tree. No shame. Not even a hint of it. My credit score was still dropping. But I kept working. Nights, weekends, whatever I could pick up. I took side jobs wiring basements, installing panels, fixing botched setups from DIY YouTube disasters. I didn't complain. I didn't post. I just stacked. Every dollar I logged. Every hour I billed. Then one day, someone else called. Not my parents. Not Chase. It was Uncle Mike. Mom's brother. The same guy who apparently gifted them the Cabo trip. "Hey, Logan," he said, voice calm. "You got a minute?" I hesitated. "What's this about?" "I've heard some things. About the credit cards. About your brother." My first instinct was to lie. Keep it vague. But something in his tone made me pause. So I told him the truth. Everything. There was a long silence. Then he said, "Jesus." I thought they were acting weird, but I didn't realize. He cleared his throat. "Look, I had no idea that trip was tied to you. I gave your parents a travel voucher through my rewards program. Figured it was for your graduation." I blinked. "Wait, what?" "Yeah. Your mom said it would be a family celebration. I didn't ask for details." The air felt heavy. "They used my graduation gift," I said slowly, "to take everyone but me." There was another pause. A sharp one. Then Uncle Mike muttered, "Those ungrateful." He apologized. I didn't expect it, but he did. "I should have asked more questions," he said. "I assumed the trip included you." I didn't say much. Just thanked him. Before he hung up, he added, "Listen, if you ever need anything, let me know. I can't undo what happened. But I might be able to help moving forward." I didn't commit. But I filed that offer away. Because when people play dirty, it helps to have someone outside the family who sees the mess for what it really is. I went back to work that night with a different kind of energy. Not bitter. Not angry. Just focused. Because now I had motive, opportunity, and slowly, leverage. They stole my moment. My name. My credit. But I still had something they never counted on. My silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. I didn't post about any of it. No vague tweets. No. "Some people will disappoint you." Instagram stories. No LinkedIn humble brags either. Just silence. And that silence? It unsettled them. A month passed. Then 2. I froze my credit. Opened new accounts. Changed everything: email, phone, mailing address. Set up a P.O. box just so Chase wouldn't have access to anything that could link back to me. I even got a new bank. Local, boring, safe. They gave me a complimentary thermos with their logo on it. That thermos became my favorite thing. Not because it kept coffee warm, but because it wasn't tied to anyone who'd ever screwed me. My credit score was still wrecked. But I was stacking cash. Picking up side jobs. Rebuilding. No one noticed. That's how I wanted it. Chase, meanwhile, kept living like life was sponsored by delusion. Instagram posts every 3 days, shirtless gym selfies, generic, grind set, captions, hashtags like #bosslife and #family over everything, which was ironic since the only family he acknowledged was himself. Then he posted a video of himself behind the wheel of a Tesla, flashing peace signs. Caption: "Credit is just trust with numbers." The nerve. I paused the video and zoomed in on the license plate in one frame. The registration sticker? Still listed my name. That was the moment. Not when they skipped graduation. Not when Mom said, "You'll figure it out." This. Seeing him roll around in a car I was apparently on the hook for, while smirking like he was too clever to ever be caught. That was when I finally stopped trying to make peace with it all. I wasn't going to move on. I was going to move through it. I called a lawyer. Not some billboard-slinging lawsuit junkie. A real one. Quiet. Strategic. She came recommended by a guy from one of my contracting jobs, someone who'd been through something similar, minus the family angle. Her name was Denise. Mid-40s. Sharp blazer. Sharper voice. She reviewed my documents for an hour straight without saying much. Then she looked up and said, "You've got a case." I blinked. "Even if it's my brother? Doesn't matter. What matters is consent. And paper trails. You have both. What would that look like?" She smiled. "We tank his credit. Garnish income if he has any. Maybe repossession. Possibly jail time, depending on the loan fraud." I hesitated. "I'm not trying to ruin his life." Her smile didn't waver. "He already ruined yours." Meanwhile, my own life was shifting. I partnered with Carlos, a local HVAC contractor who handled big installs. Office buildings. Cafes. Big projects with multi-week timelines and full teams. "People like working with you," he said. "You don't cut corners." That felt better than any compliment I'd gotten from my family in a decade. We landed a renovation project inside Valencia Crossings, a mall development I remembered Dad once talking about like it was the crown jewel of the suburbs. He'd said, "Chase'll have a store in there someday. Watch." Now, I was wiring the units above it. Quietly. With permits and contracts and money that had my name on it. Not his. Then the call came. Block number. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. "Logan?" It was Mom. Her voice sounded thinner than usual. Like it had been through a shredder and taped back together. "We need to talk." I didn't say anything. "It's Chase," she continued. "He's in trouble." "Of course. Always Chase." "What kind of trouble?" She paused. Then, "There's been a loan. Or multiple. He may have listed you, again." I stared at the wall in front of me. "I thought he was detoxing from drama," I said, the sarcasm seeping in. "I know," she said, missing the jab. "But now someone from a collections firm showed up. They said they'll start seizing assets. We don't know what to do. Why are you calling me?" Her voice cracked. "Because you always fix things." I closed my eyes. I looked around my new apartment. Small, clean, paid in full. The space was quiet, not lonely, just mine. And I thought, they still see me as the safety net. Even after everything. Only difference is this time? The net's gone. "Tell Chase," I said slowly, "that I'm not the solution this time." Then I hung up. You know what's better than a dramatic revenge speech? Paperwork. I'm serious. You file the right documents, and it hits harder than a punch. No screaming. No. "You'll regret this." Just silence, and consequences. Denise, my lawyer, was a wizard with forms. I sent her everything. Bank statements, Chase's Tesla post, screenshots of the loan Chase tried to push under my name. She didn't even blink. "Perfect," she said, flipping through pages. "Instagram flexing is admissible now. Didn't you know? #stupid. Within 2 weeks, she'd filed both a fraud claim and a civil suit. Not petty revenge. Just accountability. Adult style. Then she looked at me and asked, "Want to go nuclear?" I raised an eyebrow. "Repo," she said. I nodded. "Let's light the fuse." That Tesla Chase was parading around in? Gone within days. Apparently, Denise had expedited the repossession and requested the tow truck come mid-afternoon. Prime social media hours. He tried to stop it, shirtless, barefoot, on his driveway, arguing with the driver like he was on reality TV. "Bro, this is a misunderstanding." The guy just shrugged. "Tell it to the lien holder." He filmed it, obviously. Posted a blurry video on his story captioned, "They're targeting me. Jealousy is real." It got 14 views. A day later, Mom called. "No hello. Just, Logan. What did you do?" I was in the middle of installing a thermostat. "I cleaned up my name," I said. "And I filed for damages. The usual. You humiliated your brother. He did that when he used my credit to buy sparkling water from a minibar. For $19 each. You're blowing this out of proportion." "Am I?" I said. "Because if I recall, I couldn't even get you to drive 2 hours for my graduation. Silence. I hung up before she could say, "You always do this." Dad called next. "Logan, this is family. We don't air our issues in court." I laughed. "You air them in Cabo, remember? We just want peace." "No. You want quiet. So Chase can mess up and I keep cleaning it." He exhaled. "He's hurting." "Yeah? So was I. Difference is, I didn't use someone else's name to rent a jet ski and fake being a tech founder." He tried again. "We're still your parents." "You were," I said. "Now you're just strangers with a shared mailbox." Life outside the chaos? Beautiful. Carlos and I locked down a long-term commercial contract. My LLC got its first official subcontracting agreement. I started signing forms as owner, Markham Systems, and for the first time, I didn't feel like a backup plan. Then came the bonus round. Carlos forwarded me a new job request from a small bakery chain. HVAC install 3 locations. The client contact? Uncle Drew. The same Uncle Drew who once said, "Trade school? That's cute. But what's your real plan?" I replied to the estimate request with a clean quote, full market rate, and a 20% rush fee. "No discounts." He replied in 2 hours. "Hey Logan. Hope you're well. The family misses you." I didn't even fake a smile. I just sent him the invoice. Labeled every section clearly. Included a due date. Then added a little flourish at the bottom. "No family discounts. You said this wasn't a real career, remember? The best part?" When I showed up at the site for the walkthrough, Uncle Drew didn't recognize me at first. He started explaining how HVAC systems worked, until I interrupted and said, "I built that diagram you're reading from." His face turned pink. "Oh," he stammered. "Right. Logan. Good to see you." "Yeah," I said. "Still working with tools. Still surviving." He offered a handshake. I handed him the clipboard. The first time I ever felt invisible, I was 9. Chase broke a window, blamed me, and I got grounded for a week. No one asked questions. No one cared that I was reading in the backyard. It just stuck. Since then, life had been one long pattern of Chase messes up, Logan pays. Until now. Now? He was blocked. Mom and Dad too. No more family group chat. No more surprise phone calls. No more, "You're the responsible one, we need you." I wasn't their plan B anymore. I was off the plan entirely. Weeks later, I got one final message, a Facebook post from Mom. "Proud of both our boys, no matter what path they choose. Family over everything. Red heart #forgiveness #love wins." A photo of Chase. And a cropped year-old picture of me in a hoodie from a job site. One I didn't post. No tag. No mention. Just vague PR damage control. I didn't comment. I just blocked her. That weekend, I printed that post, laminated it, and taped it to the inside of my tool chest, right next to my degree, folded neatly behind glass. One was earned. The other? Just proof that when they finally wanted to be seen with me, I was already gone.